There we go. All right. A little slow start on that thing there. But good morning. Paul Romero here and John Leister of SellaHouse, Arizona. Say good morning, John.
Good morning, John. Hello.
SellaHouse Wholesale Training series. We are on number 9 today, which happens to be August 13th. We're on a Wednesday at 8:30 a.m., our usual startup time. We've been running these calls about 25 minutes, and I guess if that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be. We anticipated 20 when we first started these, but if it takes us an extra 5 minutes to get the information out, well, you know what? Guess what? We're going to do it for you. So we were talking about on Monday. We were talking about. John out there scoring us a couple of deals, and I was actually starting to lead the conversation in one direction, but we ended up getting into the whole idea about as a wholesaler, knowing your market, and that is definitely a major key, something that doesn't cost you anything to do, that you can start right now, with knowing nothing. You can start learning about your market, and some places where you can get information obviously is as we spoke about, sending you down to the RIA meeting. Hope you went there, and gosh, even if you don't talk to anybody there, just walking around and listening to people's conversations and just getting an idea of what they're thinking, what they're doing, where their mindset is, determining who this person is. Now, there's definitely two people that you're going to want to understand the mindset of, and that is the real investors, the people that, the big players, the people who have the money, the people that are actually driving your market right now, because I guarantee you that wherever your market is, if you're in a skyrocketing, value session, that it's being driven by investors. There is not a lot of retail buyer activity going on. There is, but if you eliminated the investor activity, your market would be dead. Okay, and that's what we saw here as well too. And that's what's going on everywhere. The investors are jumping around from city to city right now, from metropolitan area to metropolitan area, and they are, driving up your market. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to get driven up. And then once the investors pull out, guess what? It's going to flatten out. But by the time the investors start pulling out, that's where you need to know what the mindset of the masses are, because when you see the investors pulling out, guess who's jumping in? That's right, the masses, the Johnny-come-latelys, the ones that are seeing that, oh, gosh, prices have been going up for 2 years now. I guess it's time to start buying again. And by that time, they're thinking, planning ahead that, prices are still going to be going up. And the next thing you know, they turn around and they get caught with their tail between their legs, catching the end of it, where it's already flattening out and there is no more appreciation and people are getting trouble. But neither one of that affects us as a wholesaler, as long as you know what's going on, know who you're selling to, know how to present, and know what to look for. So that's kind of where we got into talking about the marketplace. John, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I just want to add, as Paul had mentioned, that the Phoenix market is kind of the leader in the nation as far as quick recovery, stabilization of home prices, influx of investors, and perfect example of investors skipping town, so to speak. We've seen a lot of activity, a lot of action over the last couple of years, and I know personally some investors that got stuck in some homes which have now become rental units, which they were intended to be flips. And what has happened, as Paul mentions, is that investors are always looking for the next big growth opportunity. Here in Phoenix, as wholesalers, we always have opportunity, and that's the same for a wholesaler in any market. But you've got to understand what's going on and what the buyers are doing, so that you know how to go out and negotiate and score an actual deal on a property. Phoenix is a place that the investors are leaving. I think that's you know, in unarguable that
Gone.
are leaving. They're gone. Which means prices have actually flatlined here. Things have actually stabilized. Some areas are even seeing some depreciation. Now, there are some areas that are still kind of appreciating, but those are, I would say, the more high-end, middle-class, medium income plus areas, and some of the lower areas too, actually, where investors are looking to score deals, in the $100,000 price range. Those areas that were below 100 grand are still kind of being pushed up a little bit. But this understanding of the market comes from getting out there and studying it every day. Because real estate for Paul and I, it's a passion. And we're looking at the market every single day, and we network with other investors, and we go to the RIA meetings, as he mentioned, and we get our finger on the pulse. And that's something that you need to do. That's kind of my thoughts on that one, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Like John was saying, Phoenix was the first major metropolis area in the nation that the big investors, the hedge funds, et cetera, and so on, really just poured in on in 2012 and 2013. And they were buying up properties here. I mean, literally buying up, hundreds of properties a month. I mean, it was ridiculous. And that in and of itself, coupled with what rate was going on with the more local investors, more small time investors who were seeing that hey, prices are starting to go up a little bit. They're getting in, fix and flippers, et cetera. Getting out there, working on making their money. They were hot in the market as well too. But that investor activity that came in from the outside is what really drove up and skyrocketed the values. I mean, we were talking about anywhere from what, like 15 to 30%
in a year
increase in 1 year's time. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so, I mean, the prices just shot up over the course of 2 years. And then once those investors really drove themselves right out of this market. They were, outbidding each other. I mean, and they're buying from everywhere. They're buying from auctions. They're buying from wholesalers. They're buying from MLS. Anywhere they can get their properties, that's where they're buying them from. So, and they're scarfing them up, and they're driving the prices up. And like I said, they literally drove themselves out of the marketplace by creating properties that, in the quote perfect market that they're looking for, which is basically your 3-2, 4-2, probably 12 to 1,600 square foot property with a 2-car garage and no pool. They're scarfing up those properties so fast that they drive that part of the marketplace up, that the whole market around them just naturally goes up with it, even though they're not buying properties in the $300,000, $400,000 range or the $50,000, $60,000 range. Just because of what they're purchasing drives up the whole market. And then when they pull out, because now what it costs them to buy that property can't bring them a 8-10% return on their investment by renting that property out, they're gone. They're history. They're out of here, and they're off to your market doing the same thing, because they can buy those properties at a value where they can be rented out and create double-digit returns. A lot of times 10-12% even is what they're really looking for, but at least 8 to 10 is what they want. And when it starts dropping below that and getting down into the 6-5 that the average Joe investor thinks is a great return, then they're out of your marketplace and on to the next one. So that's where we talk about knowing the difference between the mindsets of the different types of investors and the different types of buyers, because like I say, you've got the big player investors and you've got your mom and pop investors, your more local investors, and then you've got the general, just the masses, the Johnny-come-latelys, the people who think they know what they're doing, but really are just the lambs being led to slaughter. Right?
Yeah. It's so critical that people understand that. I think it's so critical to understand that, because I think a lot of Paul probably will agree with me. I think a lot of the inflation of the home prices we saw last year, the appreciation actually is the word I'm looking for. A lot of investors don't understand where that came from. A lot of sellers of homes and your retail buyers don't understand where that came from. That came from giant Wall Street hedge funds gobbling up hundreds of properties a month here in Phoenix. It's critical to understand that so that you actually can have a finger on the pulse of the real market and get a sense of what's really going on. It is my opinion that these home prices that we're seeing now, the reason they stabilize, and quite frankly, I think we'll even see depreciation, in my opinion, over the next couple of years, is because the retail buyers, where everyone that's out there fixing and flipping, scoring deals, is looking to sell to the retail buyer. We're in the middle of a great recession. Well, supposedly economic recovery, and it's not true. It's not true. It's not really happening that way, and people really can't afford the home prices. If interest rates go up even 1.5%, it's going to knock a lot of the retail buyers out of the market immediately. It's critical to understand that because this appreciation is investor driven. It's not retail consumer buyer driven like a lot of the misinformed investors, the Johnny come latelys, your local mom and pop type investors.
What the media and the National Association of Realtors and everybody else wants you to believe.
Yes, and that the National Association of Realtors, at the risk of insulting realtors, in and of itself is a ginormous fictitious part of the problem of phony house prices. You've got those realtors out there overlisting prices. And in fact, the national real estate, the average realtors out there, in my opinion, are attempting to inflate home prices by listing them at ridiculous numbers and screwing a lot of sellers out of selling their homes in a timely fashion. That's a whole other topic. But, I mean, it's get out there and get informed and understand. And believe me when I say that the hedge funds, when they come into your market, if you can be on the fly on the back of that dog when they come into your market and you see them coming in, capitalize. And when you see them pulling out, capitalize. Understand what's going to happen to your market when those big guys are out of there. And that's where I'm saying with Phoenix, I think Paul and I have a pretty good finger on the pulse here. And I don't believe in this fictitious appreciation of home prices at all. I don't think the retail consumer buyers can really afford where a lot of investors believe, a lot of misinformed investors believe home prices are heading. And that's where you got to be careful. But as wholesalers, hey, we've got minimal risk in it. And we're gonna prosper as wholesalers regardless of what the market does. That's the beauty of wholesale. As they say in the car industry, there's an ass for every single seat. Well, there's a buyer for everything. And understand what they want and go out and get it for them. What's your opinion on some of the things I said, Paul? Am I off base here and thinking the way I do?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, our market, like I said, the market here skyrocketed for 2 years and then plateaued to the point of where even some areas have lost value. What the heck happened? Why would that happen? Right? Because it's falsely inflated by investor-driven activity. And then once the investor dollar pulls out and you're left with the mom and pop investor and the retail market, then you finally get to see what the real market is doing in your area. So, like John said, no offense to the realtors or anything like that, like John was talking about, there actually is a place for them, and it's not their fault that they're right in the mix, falsely driving up the prices, because I mean that's just the way the real estate system is built. It's all built around commission. So I mean it's just natural that the real estate agent is going to want to try and get the highest price for the property because it's a higher commission, it's a bigger payday for them. So the system is built that way. So it just goes with that. Some of them do get a little ridiculous with it, and actually overinflate people's expectations, a little out of proportion. But for the most part, it's just kind of a natural thing that happens. Um, but as far as wholesaling goes, you know, a lot of people right now, especially like people who sell real estate wholesale products, like programs like we're offering, but they're selling them. I mean, they're practically giving this stuff away right now because, everybody's believing that the real estate market, that the opportunity is not there. That they're, you can't be wholesaling houses because there's nothing going on. That's what's the beautiful about wholesaling. It doesn't matter what the heck the market's doing. If it's going up, there's wholesale deals. If it's coming down, there's wholesale deals. If it's flatlining, there's wholesale deals. There's wholesale deals available no matter what the market is doing. That's what's great about what we do. Our business is never going to go away, and the marketplace is never going to affect our ability to do our business. We have to have a couple of different attitudes. We have to have a couple of different strategies. We have to know when and how and who to approach and go after for both buying and for both selling our deals. But other than that, with outside of just a few minor shifts to adapt ourselves to the changes within the marketplace in and of itself has no effect on our ability to do wholesale deals. So if you think that for some reason wholesaling isn't a good idea because of what's going on, you're wrong. Put that out of your mind, and if wholesaling real estate is something you ever thought about doing, is now a good time? Yes. Was last year a good time? Yes. Will next year be a good time? Yes. Was 5 years ago a good time? Yes. Will 5 years from now be a good time? Yes. It makes no difference. It's always a good time. There is no bad time. Okay?
Yeah, I just want to add into that. It might not be the smartest time right now to be a fix and flipper. You might just want to be a wholesaler and get in and get the hell out of deals quick right now, because who the hell knows? It's a risky market in Phoenix. So sometimes when things are crashing, if you've got your finger on the pulse of the market and you're a wholesaler, you might do better in the downtime. I think you might do better in the downtime when it becomes when the sellers realize it's a buyer's market. There's more motivation among sellers to sell quickly. That's when wholesaling really can take off. I mean, Paul said last week that you needed a catcher's mitt 2-3 years ago, 3-4 years ago at this point now. Shit, I mean, time's flying to catch all them deals that are out there, because motivated sellers were scared to death of what was happening in the economy and with the market, and they were throwing houses away. Great for us. Last year and a little bit this year, it was a little bit tougher to get the big spreads because sellers were caught up in the fact that it was a seller's market, and because of the investor-driven activity, it was a seller's market. I want to add into what Paul said. It's basically, he said it, and I want to reiterate it in a little bit different language, is that, wholesaling is always going to be a tool that can be used. If there's always going to be an opportunity to be a wholesaler, you have to be open to that. You have to be adaptable. You have to be open to change. And you have to constantly be reinventing yourself in this market and adapting to the changes. And really that comes with having your finger on the pulse of the market. I can't say that enough. So adaptability, open to change, constantly reinventing yourself, and there's always an opportunity to be a wholesaler. And I want to throw into something Paul said. There is a lot of programs out there. I say buyer beware. Beware of the programs that are out there, because by the time those gurus or those guys selling programs, by the time their programs hit the market, they've already exhausted the hell out of that niche, and now they know that it's on the down cycle, and that's why they're willing to sell you those tips and tricks, because they know that people are catching on to those tips and tricks. And now I'm not saying don't buy the program, because we've bought some great ones that we've made a good amount of money doing, but we got them at the tail end, and we knew that. But understand that when a guru or someone selling a program out there, it's because that niche has already seen the growth, it's starting to plateau, the Johnny-come-latelys are there, and these guys know it's time to sell that niche and cash in as that niche is on its way out. So just know, when you're hearing information from out there, that it's coming down, and that you've got a quick little time to learn that information, implement that information, and then start to think about the next niche to get yourself involved in. I kind of just want to leave. I see we're running out of time. I want to leave it at that, and I'll let Paul go ahead and wrap it up. And Paul, look for me. If I go like this, that means I want to just throw in something to what you said. But go ahead, and why don't you wrap us up?
Yeah, actually, where you took that with the products that are out there, we're not saying don't go buy products. I've got a shelf full of products. Although when I was buying them, my shelf probably cost me about $15,000 to $20,000. Okay, your shelf today, to build the same shelf that I got right now, could probably cost you about $1,500 total. Because, like I said, people are giving this stuff away these days, because everybody, the concept, the mindset out there is that that's not the thing to do because it doesn't work because of this, that, or the other thing, which we all know isn't true. I actually just recently looked at a few products that new that I've never seen before that came out. And funny thing is, one of them was, well, both of them actually were really just a different sort of approach to one of the products that I bought, a couple, 2 or 3 years ago. To a couple of products that I bought a couple, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's all the same information. It's just being presented in a different way. So if you've got the stuff from a few years ago, it's pretty much the same as what's out there. You're always going to grab a few gold nuggets. If you spend $100 on a product and you get to sit there and watch and listen and look at videos and read some materials and whatnot, you're always going to grab some gold nuggets out of there that probably are going to make it worth every penny that you spent on it. But will you ever implement that system? Probably not. As John says, actually implementing that system, is it going to get you where you want to go? If you do it immediately, quickly, with a sense of urgency and speed of implementation, maybe it will. But here again, too, keep in mind that when you're buying a program, all it really is the same information pretty much wrapped around one specific sort of well, as John put it, a niche, but with one tool. You figure in real estate, there's a whole lot of different ways to buy and sell real estate, to buy real estate especially, to pick up and acquire real estate, to find deals. Okay, most of these programs are all built around, what could be a huge toolbox, but it was dumped out on the floor, and then the big hammer was picked up, put back in the toolbox, and then the regular programs wrapped around it and said, here you go. Here's our program, all wrapped around this one tool. So the thing about that is you go out and you do your marketing, you get all this information, you go out and you put out all your marketing, and your phone starts ringing, and you're getting phone calls, but you might be getting phone calls with people that say, hey, I'm going to use a construction analogy here. People are calling you up saying, hey, listen, I got a hole in the roof. Can you fix it? And you're like, well, I've got a pipe wrench, so not much I'm going to be able to do for you. Or somebody calls up and says, hey, I got an electrical problem. Can you fix it? And you're like, well, I got a pipe wrench, and not much I'm going to be able to do about that. Or somebody calls up and says, hey, a tree fell in my yard. Can you fix it? And you're like, well, I got a pipe wrench. I'm not going to be able to do much with that. So, it's all wrapped around one tool. So the whole idea of these programs, it's not a bad idea to buy them and learn, because you know what? Each program you buy is going to be education and knowledge about a different tool that you're going to be able to add into your toolbox, so that when the next guy calls up and says, hey, I got a broken window, can you fix that? And you can say, hey, you know what? I got some glazing tools here. I can fix that for you. So the idea of buying programs is not bad. The idea of actually implementing a program that's going to take you to, the promised land of financial freedom, that's where you just want to be careful and understand, like John said, where the program might be. So, yeah, John, you said something?
I just want to say, you say, will those products bring you down the road to financial freedom? It could definitely, like Paul said, you can pull gold nuggets. If you get a program and you implement the material right away, you can use it to score deals, but only you will bring yourself down the road to financial freedom. It's really, as we said in the very first phone call hangout we did, was it's all about you and being the right person and taking charge of your life, so to speak, and being the one to bring you there. So the program in itself isn't going to get you anywhere, not at all, but it's what you do with the information that you have it's what you do with the information. I just wanted to add that. Back to you.
Yeah, so we're out of time here, so I'm just going to say that, yeah, all those programs, it's like, if you wanted to learn anything, what are you going to do? You're going to go take classes and you're going to learn, how to do something, right? Well, all these programs are basically classes. They're teaching you different parts of what it is that you want to know as a whole. So nothing wrong with that. We're going to get off this call now, but I just wanted to point out for anybody who might have noticed that I changed my little tagline down there, realestateNoodlers@gmail.com. That is if you want to get into our program, as we spoke about, no cost to you, jumping into the meat that's on the bone and working your way out to, the fatty material that everyone else starts you with and lets you try to figure out how to get to the interior. realestateNoodlers.com, gmail.com, that is the email site where you're going to want to contact us. And like I said, it doesn't matter where you are in the nation. You've got two guys here that are in the leading cutting edge marketplace who have already been there, done that to whatever's going on in your marketplace right now, and we can really give you some good advice as to what's happening, what's going on, what you should look for, the information that you should be seeking out and trying to catch a hold of. And with that, I'm out of here today. We'll see you again on Friday, 8:30 a.m. And that's it for me, John.
Have a great week, and